Hi Ali, can you hear us now?
Yeah, I can hear you well. Thank you. Yes, sorry about that.
So I'll just give a quick introduction. We're restarting the AGA sessions where we speak to uh, people at home or people that have been affected by COVID. This week we're concentrating on architectural education, and our guest today is Ali Montero, who's a Part 1 student and part of the AGA team. So she's doing her year out this year. And tomorrow we'll be speaking to the architect Jeff Turco, um, who runs the diploma program at Brighton University. So it'll be interesting to get um, the perspectives of the two. So Ali, welcome.
Yeah, sure. So I recently graduated from the University of Westminster. And before that, I did an art foundation in my hometown of Bristol. So that's where I'm originally from. And yeah, I was lucky enough to do work experience at AGA during my last year of university. And then through that, managed to start working here. So yeah, I'm really enjoying it. Very much in the beginning of my architectural journey, but excited for everything that has to come. Um, and yeah, trying to make the most of this year out, given the strange circumstances.
Yeah, really, really strange. So
Yeah,
obviously you were about to complete your part one, so it's the end of
yeah.
third year when COVID struck us. So how have things changed for you as a student and as a student of architecture? And did the university and your tutors did they adapt quickly to that to um, this change?
Yeah, I think universities, um, by their definition, you know, there are all these creatives who are part of the university. So creatives are good at sort of being resourceful, and yeah, I think everyone's dealt with it very well. I think it was a lot to adapt to in terms of this new medium of communication. I think we're very used to relying on the studio as this kind of like breeding ground for ideas and happenstance and contributing um, sort of without knowing sometimes to each other's projects and not being in the room together. Um, we felt like we were losing something because that's something that we really value is each other's opinions and knowing about each other's work really. But you know, that being said, it's I think a testament to our tutors that we sort of managed quite well to do everything online. It was somewhat of an unfair advantage that some people had if they had better internet connection or if they had a better laptop. I think that was something that wasn't necessarily so fair. Was that I mean, I had friends who were waiting for things to load for like 3 hours, waiting for to open a file where I was lucky enough that I'd just got a new laptop, so that wasn't a problem for me. Other students not being able to have tutorials because they just didn't have the right Wi-Fi. So yeah, there was a lot to do. I think a big sort of something that we were quite upset about was not being able to say goodbye, not feeling like we got closure on the whole process. That being said, the university adapted by uh, making a virtual exhibition for us. So rather than having a physical um, exhibition and a opening night and everything, which we were all really looking forward to, it's normally quite a good like party. We just had this virtual one, which was it was really ambitious, especially at our university. They really tried to do something big and new, which, I mean, there was no precedent for this before, you know, so they had to be thinking on their feet. And I don't think it necessarily did everyone's work justice. And also, it's such a great way of meeting new people and meeting potential employers. And I think that's something that a lot of people are struggling with at the moment is uh, when there's such high competition. I think people find it much easier to connect with someone once they've met them or once they, you know, have a face to put to a name. or to some work. So yeah, I think that was a shame that we didn't have the actual physical exhibition. But maybe this is how things have to be from now on, you know.
So it wasn't all detrimental. Would you say that this change had any positive outcomes?
Yeah, definitely. I think, I mean, I think there's no point focusing only on the negatives when this is the reality that we have to deal with. I think like we were really able to focus, like having your own sort of space to really just like curate your own little worlds. Everyone set up their own like studios at home, created these little environments to work in. I think, yeah, it was really good for mental health. I think when you're around other people, sometimes it can really stress you out. Or you're like constantly comparing yourself to other people. I know I was very guilty of this. You'd kind of, look at someone else's project and think, oh, they're doing so much better than I am or whatever. But in this situation, you sort of just accepted that everyone is just trying their best. And you could take time out. I think people ended up having more balanced lives than they would have if they were at university. People were going for runs, and like I was doing yoga every morning, which I wouldn't have had time for if I was going to uni. Trying to be really mindful about the kind of approach to work, which I think is something that hopefully the whole industry will sort of take forwards, is reconsidering this kind of, I don't know, I guess it's quite like a macho ethic or this culture of architects sacrificing everything when it doesn't have to be like that. Yeah.
That's very interesting, Ali. So that kind of leads to kind of a big question to ask you. How do you think the education of architecture would change in the future, or already the present, if at all, post COVID?
Yeah, I think hopefully, I think it will just make people, especially studying, more aware of like the context in which they are building in. So I think for me and a lot of my classmates, we found like the current times meant that we were given a new sort of like urgency in what we were designing. It provided a new context that was more real and felt more sort of important to try and change. For example, I was doing a project about a refuge for victims of domestic abuse, and during COVID, the rates of domestic abuse, like tragically, horribly, were skyrocketing because everyone had to be indoors. So I think hopefully that people use this kind of really real, scary, but this new reality as a sort of breeding ground for ideas that can really affect change. Because I think I find it more interesting when the work really has a moral kind of standing. And then I think in terms of how it's going to change architecture in general, I think it's proven that these technologies that we're learning at the moment, of experiencing a building without actually being there, it is exciting to consider how these can really help us and prevent people having to come in contact with each other. But I do hope that doesn't just mean that design becomes sort of limited to how a computer thinks. I hope that it is still like personable and real. And yeah, just like changing the capitalist sort of culture of like churning out new buildings all the time. Like let's improve our homes. Everyone has to spend so long there now. You might as well make it a nice place to be. Yeah, I think that would be really great if that does come out of all this.
Well, now you're working with us at AGA. How's it going?
Yeah, it's great. It's really, really good. And I'm not just saying that because I'm talking to you. Yeah, it's really sort of refreshing. It's, I think, very different to sort of like being in education. But I think it humbles you because you realise there's still so much to learn. Is taught at university is difficult to translate into a scenario. Yeah, I think it's really great. One thing that I've really, really enjoyed us doing is sort of like our internal crit things that we did for a project called Church Lane recently. And it's so rewarding. Like we went to go and see the client today. And yeah, it was really rewarding hearing her kind of perspective on the work that we'd done, and her like hearing her get as excited as we were in the office. Yeah, it's really it's great actually talking to a client, because that's something that you don't really get at university. You just make one up, or you're told to imagine someone. So it's cool to have a real life human involved with that. Yeah, and yeah, it's great. This network.
Yeah, I guess things are slightly going to change now as we are faced with increased numbers of COVID cases. So we've been, as an office, the whole team has been working from home for about 3-4 months. And we all came back to a new studio about a month ago, 3 weeks ago. All very excited to be working again together in the same space. But now we've decided to return to working from home. So I guess you're still in the office. We're finalizing logistics a bit. What would you miss the most from not being in an office environment? Obviously, we've got a whole system in place to work remotely, so we use Zoom and Teams, among other software. But there's nothing like being in the same room with your team, especially when we are developing concepts together.
Yeah, it's definitely not the same. Yeah, I think it's just the sort of little conversations in between work and this kind of general understanding of what everyone is doing, because you can hear what they're doing and they'll talk to you about what they're working on. And I think it's quite easy if you're just at home focusing on your work to kind of forget about the bigger picture of like all the different projects that the practice is doing. Yeah, the building, like coming here. For those of you who don't know, there's a lot of other kind of little organizations and companies and stuff based here. Although not all of them are currently working from here. I don't know, it feels like a kind of melting pot of all these different organizations and stuff. And just that distinction between my sort of life at home and then coming to work, like the commute acts as this kind of, I mean, it's an opportunity for exercise, but also kind of separates your personal life from your professional life, I think. And that's quite a healthy thing. So I think when I do go home, I will make an effort to kind of like make a distinction between that, because yeah, I don't want to just sort of like roll out of bed and then onto the computer.
Yeah, I agree. I've worked for a period from home, and it is very important to separate your life, because you can.
Yeah.
So I had occasions where I just continued working past 8 p.m. or 9 p.m.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is, classic architects. So, which no one would judge you for it, but yeah, not always the healthiest way of doing it.
No, it's definitely not productive. Ali, as we're
No.
coming to the kind of end of our chat, what advice can you offer to year out students about finding work placements, especially now? And to anyone who joined us, if you have any questions, please write them below, and we'll happily answer them. So.
Yeah. This is, I think, I thought quite a lot about this one because it's sort of the most productive in terms of if the listeners feel like they can actually get some advice out of it. There's a few points. I think testament to Amos's amazing work and everyone else on the team. I think it also like the reason that AGA is doing so well at the moment is because like people are doing these home improvements and like bigger companies or bigger practices that do like big public work or whatever. Unfortunately, it is so sad, but it's true that they're not getting the same funding and there's all these delays and everything. So I think anyone who's looking into trying to find a job, maybe look at these smaller practices because I don't think they are the kind of main go-to. I think people just think of the big names because those are the ones that are more widely talked about. So yeah, that's definitely something that I would advise. And then I'm kind of there's part of me that is a bit jealous of all my friends who are just spending all of their time at the moment figuring out what they're passionate about. I mean, I have time on the weekends to do that and stuff. I'm very grateful for the position I'm in. But I think if you don't have a job, making the most of that time and just being like, what is it that I want to contribute to this field? Because undergrad, it does give you the opportunity to think about that, but not to a great extent. And I think if you can start your masters having sort of like figured out your own style or experimented with like graphics and illustration, maybe doing some short courses. Like there's loads of online resources. Like there's a platform called Domestika, which does like all different kinds of arts courses, which people could sign up to short courses on. So yeah, that's something you could be doing. And yeah, I think it's like keep some sort of integrity and don't be. I've got some friends who I've heard working in practices where they're kind of, I guess, like milking them for all they're worth, and it's not really fair. Like they're working overtime and they're working on less than living wage, and I think like if I know it's like desperate times, but like you deserve better than that. And I think these practices should be held accountable if they are going to treat you wrongly. So don't feel like you have to sell out. I know that's easier said than done, but I just think that's so wrong. And then there's little competitions that are happening all the time. So I think there was one about
there's quite a
building some little seating areas as part of the RIBA. I think on the RIBA website there's a competitions page so you can find out what's going on. But yeah, like fill your time with some competitions because that's good experience and that's something to have in your CV.
Thanks, Ali. We've got a question here.
Yeah.
Hi, Ali. What are the biggest differences?
I think it's just good to get your name out there, really. Just get people aware that you're kind of taking this seriously and you're trying to make the most of. Oh, yeah.
Ali, sorry. There's a question here. What are the biggest differences you found between school and office, and how have you found the adjustment?
Yeah, I think I guess at uni everyone was like on the same level, so we were all very sort of figuring everything out. Here, I definitely feel like, well, obviously I don't know as much as everyone else, which actually is a really nice feeling because I just feel like I'm learning so much all the time. And yeah, like everyone who I'm talking to seems to have like nuggets of wisdom just constantly. And I think like a big difference is the fact that at uni it was quite easy just to spend the entire evening there, sometimes to a silly hour, like we'd stay until way past midnight, and it's nice that we have a going home time. Definitely. Yeah, and then I guess it's just what I was saying before about really actually having people involved in everything. And I guess the fact that we have contractors and like you really think about how things are genuinely going to be built and the whole process behind it. I mean, we did consider all these like structural elements and whatnot to our buildings at uni, but I think it's really, really cool to see it like relevant to all these different careers and how there are all these other contributing people process.
Great.
And they've been great. I'm really enjoying it. Is there another question?
Are there any more questions? Yeah.
There's one about outings.
Does the actual COVID situation affect the internship? Because I'm looking for an internship right now, and I don't know if I should wait until it will get better or not. Thanks. Maybe I can answer that.
Yeah.
I don't think it affects. Like Ali said, and I agree. There's probably the smaller practices doing domestic work are quite busy at the moment because people have spent a long time at home and they're realizing probably what's wrong with their homes and they want to improve it. So there's definitely a lot of work out there. So I would advise, contacting one of the smaller practices, and it's definitely a good time to join. I guess the only issue is whether a practice works from home or from an office, and how exactly that works for you. So it might be a logistic thing. Either the practice will provide you with a computer, or you have to use your own. And then I guess you're not really part of a physical team. So you'd be kind of working on your own at your home. So that's another issue to consider. Another question, as a practice, did you ever go on outings? Would you consider going on a trip once restrictions has relieved? Good question. We had an outing last week. We went on a long walk and looked at modernist buildings in the vicinity of our office in Archway, and walked all the way to Belsize Park. So that's been really good. I guess I personally don't feel comfortable going to kind of museums. I prefer to do kind of open space outings. But that's definitely, I think once everyone works from home, we'll definitely try and meet every couple of weeks and maybe do more of these outdoor tours, which is good for morale and good exercise.
I think as well, you were saying when we were on the tour, you were like, oh, who needs Pinterest? We've got everything we need right here. And I think the fact that so many of the jobs that AGA does are in the local vicinity means that we are constantly around these like sources of inspiration. And it's also so nice to like walk to site or whatever. That's definitely something that I miss about being in the office, is the proximity to the like actual buildings that we're affecting. Yeah.
Okay. If anyone has more questions, well, Ali, thank you very much for spending your time with us.
Thank you. No, it was fun.
Fun for us as well. Tomorrow, we've got a guest, an architect and educator from Brighton University called Jeff Turco. The same time at 12:30. Please follow us on Instagram. You can also catch all the previous sessions that we did, primarily over lockdown, on our Instagram TV. If anyone's watching and is thinking about renovating their house or needs advice, whatever it may be, we are offering online consultation for free, but we ask people to donate to our charity. So you can find details on our website. Thanks for joining us. Stay safe and have a nice day. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.